It all starts here. It happens in your house, not the White House.
It is inevitable that we are going to have to continue to fight evil. You're not going to avoid the conflict with this type of mentality. All you're doing is prolonging the inevitable.
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the show. I hope you guys are watching at youtube.com/OutKick. That's where you can like and subscribe. If you've been following over on Instagram, you've seen now that the Gains for Girls podcast is officially being rebranded into the Riley Gaines Show. This is like surreal to me, signing this now multi-year deal. So we'll be around for a while. Sorry to all you liberals out there. But all that to say, just eternally grateful for the support that you guys have shown, me personally have shown the show. Just excited for the future. I want to hear from you guys, what you want to see, guests you want to hear from, topics you want discussed, all of that and more. You can do that in the comment section. You can reach out to me personally over on Instagram, on X, any of the social platforms. You can find the show anywhere where you get your podcast. So youtube.com, as we said, that's where you can watch it. But Spotify, Apple, you know it. So appreciate you guys. I feel like I need to pinch myself. This is crazy. Our guest today is someone who understands service and sacrifice and accountability at a level very few Americans ever will. We are talking to Sergeant Dakota Meyer. He is a U.S. Marine. He is a Medal of Honor recipient. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He would say most importantly that he is a father of 2 daughters. And now, after 15 years out of uniform, he has made the extraordinary decision to re-enlist back into the Marine Corps Reserve. For years, Dakota has stayed out of politics. He has kept his head down, but something has changed from the erosion of trust in our institutions to political violence to a military he believes is at a crossroads. He is now, what he says, he's reached a breaking point. And so he has been speaking out. He's been speaking out about why he's re-enlisting, about leadership, about accountability, about masculinity, fatherhood, what it means to be a Marine in the year 2025. He's also, today, you can expect him to weigh into some of the most urgent national security issues facing the country right now, from Venezuela to Syria to the future of the U.S. military itself. Sergeant Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor recipient and founder of The Bluff on Substack, joins us now. Well, Dakota, thank you for joining the show. I provided a little background for you in the intro, but do you mind just giving us a little background on you and your service and why now you've chosen to re-enlist?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, just on a farm with my father, and I was your typical high school student. I didn't really know what I was going to do next. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like all I knew was what I knew. In these small towns, I think that's you're kind of limited to that, and so like I ended up growing up, and I had this opportunity to go to the Marine Corps. I remembered what 9/11 felt like in my 8th grade classroom, and so I think that had like a piece of it. I don't think I joined because of that, but I think that without that, I don't know that I joined, right? And so I joined the Marine Corps at 17 years old. My father signed for me. I enlisted, went through the normal process of going to boot camp and all that. And then I became a sniper, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and then got out in 2010 and, eventually received the Medal of Honor for actions in Afghanistan in a gunfight. And then since then, I've just continued to try to advocate for good. Um, I'm a firefighter still. I still get on a rig sometimes as a part-time. I was full-time for a little bit during COVID. And then, I don't know, that's kind of it really.
Oh, yeah, that's it. No big deal.
That's
Uh,
it.
well, we thank you for your service across the board. Of course, being a part of the U.S. military now as a fireman too, like how cool, how
Yeah.
remarkable is that? I would imagine some of the things that you've seen, both overseas and even in your profession as a firefighter. I mean, they stick with you. So we are
Yeah.
grateful for you. Before we get into the current state of the military and some other things I want to talk to you about, we saw President Trump address the nation earlier this week. And in doing that, one of the things that he announced was a promise to send 1.45 million U.S. troops a warrior dividend. So what this is, it's $1,776 that are totally tax-free. We have a video right here. Let's watch it really quick.
1 million 450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call Warrior Dividend before Christmas, a Warrior Dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money than anybody thought because of tariffs, and the bill helped us along. Nobody deserves it more than our military, and I say congratulations.
In true Trump fashion, saying like the checks are already on their way. This should hit their accounts as he said right before Christmas. I have to imagine that this means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's just a small look, as a taxpayer myself, I think it's the best use of tax dollars that I have seen in a
Totally.
long time, and so, I mean, I think it's a small token of appreciation. It's coming at the right time. You just you talk about this is the most valuable resource that we have, and we're gonna have to eventually ask them to go out and to continue to fight on our behalf, and that is inevitable. So I think that this is just another. It's not just talking about supporting troops. This is another action that's taken by this administration on how much they appreciate the men and women in uniform and how that they're going to put America first.
That's it. Yeah, I think we saw Pete Hegseth in the morning following this address go on to say, look, this is just a small token of our gratitude for those in uniform. So appreciation is a good word, and I think it embodies what the Trump administration has done, especially as it pertains to our military. And speaking
Yeah,
of
but I
that, go ahead.
but to go a little bit further, like I also think, and I understand that we're all looking at it as like, this is Trump doing this, right? President Trump doing this. I also think that this is an action that he's taking that I don't like. I won't and I guess we'll watch the media go crazy with it now, but I mean, this should be a easy, nonpartisan agreement with something in an action that this president is doing, right? Like, this is not only something that he's doing to show his own personal agenda and appreciation of these men and women in uniform and his administration and how much he values them. This should also represent how we all feel about our men and women in uniform. And I don't know, like I'm just so interested. Like, that's the thing that I'm waiting for right now after hearing this, is to see how the media and to see like who can come out and not support this.
Totally. We saw on CNN that evening following his address where one of the hosts or reporters came on there and said, look, $1,776 isn't actually that much. So almost immediately, there was an attempt to, almost discredit or disregard or say
Yeah.
it's not enough what President Trump, his administration, Congress is doing for our U.S. military members. And
So
you,
you're
you
right. It's
mentioned,
not enough, right? You're 100% right, and it'll never be enough. But what
no,
I will tell you is this is how disconnected, disgusting people who are trying to act like they know, act like they're like these subject matter experts who have now got a microphone. They have no clue how much $1,776 means to a family, tax free, to these men and women who are sacrificing. I mean, go look at what the average income of a service member is with their families. And a lot of times they are only, to talk about this, a lot of times they are single income families because we have to ask them to leave every 3 years. They have to move. The military spouses out there, they are all sacrificing. I mean, serving our country is a family business. And while, it just shows you how dumb and how out of touch these people who are standing and have who control the message, right? Like, they are controlling the message and they have no context as to the realities of these men and women in uniform and the cost of everything and like how much these men and women sacrifice. And to sit here and say that $1,776 is not that much. I'll also go a little bit further to say out of touch that person is that would impact and have a huge impact on tons of families across this nation. And if $1,776 isn't much to him, well, hopefully he donates that to somebody that it would mean a lot to. I mean, that would be my rebuttal to that.
That's a really good point. I think we should make that challenge to the host that said this. Put your money where your mouth is. If you love this country, if you agree that it's the greatest nation in the world, and if you support our U.S. military members, I love that. And Out of Touch, yeah, entirely. These are people who make glamorous salaries and have never had to leave the comfort of their own homes. I can say, with no hesitation that I have no idea what it's like to be overseas, to be away from your family. I can't possibly even imagine that. But of course, I respect and appreciate the people who do, because I understand that you're fighting for me, and now having a daughter, you're fighting for her and the country that she will inherit. So I love that, and you mentioned the word partisan too. It is so upsetting to me that now when you're driving down the road and you pass a house that has an American flag posted outside the house, I hate to say it, but almost immediately you can assume that person's political affiliation, and that
Yeah.
is a real problem, right? That the flag, the greatest symbol of unity, that I believe, or at least historically that we've had, now represents one political party more than the other.
Mhm.
We've also seen where recently, I believe it's Representative Tim Burchett, a congressman actually from the state of Tennessee. He's introduced HR 260, which is the No Tax Dollars for Terrorists Act. And I mentioned this when we're talking about being partisan because let's look at what we've seen, what people like Sean Ryan and Tim Burchett himself have really done a fantastic job in exposing to the public over the past few months, especially. We have been sending approximately $40 million in taxpayer funds every single week to the Taliban. There's no telling how long this has been going on for. Again, the No Tax Dollars for Terrorists Act would do just that. But Dakota, you and I are indirectly funding the Taliban, which
Yeah.
means we're indirectly funding pedophilia. It means we're indirectly funding honor killings, total oppression for women, forced compliance. Why in the world are our taxpayer dollars going to hostile nations that hate America, that vote against us at the UN, that chant death to America and fund anti American NGOs, all while the Democratic Party, especially in the Senate right now, what we've seen, they're totally stalling. They don't want to pass HR 260.
Yeah, and I you unpacked a bunch in there. What I would start with is saying, I think such a great question. I think that one's gonna be, we can get into that. But I think the first question that we have to ask is why are we allowing people that hate America to live in our country?
Hmm.
Why are we allowing people like, you wonder why we have to all walk around right now, and I'm gonna do a video this afternoon as to, like, why I'm having to worry about, my kids in schools, why we're having to worry about, like, people walking up and shooting people in broad daylight on the street, that are in uniform, why we're having to do this and why we're having to worry about, and we're all just standing by waiting for an attack like Australia to happen here. It's because we have a party that's in power that allows people to hate the very country that they are put in charge of, and they also flourish it and they feed it, and they literally help push that agenda of hating America. So because let me tell you something, the Democratic Party, they're for nothing. They're just against everything. And that's it, right? They're against anything that has principles, anything that stands for something. They run off of being against that, right? They will make an enemy out of everything. And so, so when you talk about the money going over there, this is because of them, right? I mean, this is because they were in charge, and you know exactly how long that's been going on, right? The bigger question I have is why is it still going on? And I am so glad that we brought this up. And I know what the excuse is because I made the phone calls. Like, as soon as I heard about that, I started making phone calls. And here's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get, well, sometimes it's better to pay them in order to keep the peace. And I mean, and it's like, all you're doing is prolonging the inevitable, right? It's almost like you're never going to change this. So what you should be doing is you should be spending every dollar of that into getting prepared to fight them. You're not going to avoid the conflict with this type of mentality, this type of mindset, this type of rhetoric. Like, it is like inevitable that we are going to have to continue to fight evil. But what you're seeing isn't. But that's the way life goes. At any point in time, you claim a title or you identify with anything, you're automatically going to have to start protecting, and you're going to have to start um, being ready to stand against people against that very thing, right? Like that is picking a side.
Of
And,
course.
and so I think it's absolutely atrocious. I think that like it has to stop. I think we've got to keep finding this and accountability. But I would also go on the other side of it is that's like not even a tip of the iceberg. If you really got down into where the money is, where the funding comes. But I don't care as much about that, to be honest with you.
Listening to you say that, my husband is an immigrant. He came from England, which now he calls it Englanistan. Of course, he's gone through the process, the entire, entirely correct, the legal way. He has his green card now. And he says the same thing. He's like, look, these people who hate it here, they want to talk about, getting their visa removed or revoked, whatever it is. He says they have to understand they're a guest. It's like if you go to someone's house, you're a guest in their house, and if you do something they don't like, they can kick you out of their house. He says that's what people don't understand about this great nation. He loves it here. He's more American, I would say, than most Americans that I know, certainly on the Democratic side. And to speak to the threats of Islam that we've seen, you're
Uh,
right. I mean, just in the past few weeks alone, we saw where National Guardsmen were shot. Of course, one killed
um,
horrifically. God bless Sarah Beckstrom and her beautiful family. And this time, this was just blocks away from the White House. That's a terrifying thought. The Bondi Beach attack, as you said, we saw 2 American soldiers killed overseas in Syria, all done by radical Muslims. And so, based on your experience overseas and with ISIS, it's fair to say that you see the threat of Islam to the US and the freedoms that we have that make the US the greatest country, bar none. It's fair to say that those threats are real, right?
oh, 100%. I mean, you just seen Director Gabbard and her team come out. Joe Kent. Joe Kent is uh I mean, he's one of the greatest human beings. I just love him to death. But you just seen them come out and they confirm that they've got at least 2,000 inside of our borders that were brought here by the last administration that have direct ties to ISIS and things like that. I mean, you look at New York, the mayor of New York, right? I mean, you're looking at all these aspects, and so look at Iliam, whatever her last
Yeah.
name is, right? I mean, like you're talking about, we've got people that are now moving up and they're playing the long game. And so, yeah, I mean, radical Islam is a real thing. I mean, it is a real thing. And I see all these people who are standing for this rhetoric, and they're trying to be, I don't know, understanding or accepting of it, and don't want to draw a hard line in it. And it's like, yeah, you know what? They will be the first ones screaming and crying as soon as these people get here, because I'm going to tell you something right now. Like nothing the left stands for is anything that they accept, or that like they are against the very people who are allowing them to come here the most. They're going to be the first ones who are going to get the hammer from these people. And so it's scary. It's scary that the same thing that we all went over and fought against in order to keep it from here is now being allowed to come here by the exact same people who sent us to go fight it. Think about that, right? Like, we don't make the decisions, and now we're allowing this, we're accepting it, and we are tolerating it. And it is absolutely absurd. And you know what's even crazier is when you see these leaders up there who are in positions of power and who vote in all this aspect, not willing to call things what they are. It's terrorism. It's terrorism. I mean, let me ask you this. Like, do you worry now about anywhere you go? Like, would you worry about like college campuses? I mean, like, do we worry about that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Even
You know
in
what that's
talking to my
called?
husband about what we want to do on New Year's Eve, again, being in Nashville, you've got the guitar drop in downtown. I told my husband, there's no way I would go downtown for New Year's Eve, because I understand. Well, we just saw where the FBI foiled plans in LA. There were 5 different, I think, bomb sites that had been planned. No way would I go downtown on New Year's Eve, because I care about my safety, and we have no idea who's in this country. And that's a
Yeah.
really sad revelation to have as a 25-year-old girl. Like, you want to be able to enjoy those things, to enjoy New Year's Eve downtown. No way would I do that. No way.
Yeah. And do you know what the definition of terrorism is?
Tell me.
So the definition of terrorism is the use or threat of violence against civilians or non-combatants to intimidate, coerce, or influence a population, government, or organization for political, ideological, religious, or social objectives. It is the intent to create fear or intimidation beyond the immediate victims.
And
This is what this is.
the crazy thing is, for saying that, I mean, for this discussion that we're having, you could be called Islamophobic, but phobia implies that it's an irrational fear. But in talking about what we've talked about in learning of the stories happening, not just in this country, but around the world surrounding radical Islam,
Mhm.
it's a totally rational fear to have, right? It's not a phobia. Um,
And I
so
also don't see, and I haven't seen one video, and I could be wrong on this, so the people can hammer me on this or whatever they want if this is a statement that's wrong. But I still don't see one video where people go out and they start shooting up a crowd when they're saying praise God the entire time. I don't see one of them. I don't see one Christian based aspect of this, right? Of people doing it in the name of Christianity, murdering people, innocent people in the name of Christianity. I haven't seen one video. Maybe it's out there. I'll search for it after this, but I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say, and every time you hear them doing this, they are screaming this in the name of God, in the name of their God. I don't see another religion where this is happening.
And I think the scary thing is too is they're not scared to be martyred because isn't it like if you're martyred you're promised 40 virgins in the next life or in the afterlife or whatever it is. And you mentioned they play the long game. I think that's hard for our minds as Americans to comprehend, or at least I'll speak for myself here, given, we're a country that's only been around 250 years. In the grand scheme of things, that's not a long time. Compare that to again Europe. 250 years is nothing. These people are in this country, they're repopulating at alarming rates. Where take that as Americans, we're not getting married till later in life. We're not having kids till later in life. Many people are opting out of having children entirely. The population, I guess, overlap here, and they play the long game. 50 years, the 50-year plan to them. I think that's relatively standard, and it's something my mind has a hard time really comprehending.
100%.
Yeah, it's a scary thought. But with that and the different discourse we've seen around it, nonetheless, we have seen almost record numbers. Actually, I believe President Trump said it last night that enlisting is at an all-time high. He said this in his address to the nation. What's causing this? I mean, again, you have to imagine that this is a result of strong leadership from the top down. Of course, having a president that supports the military. We mentioned Secretary Hegseth.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the morale booster here that people needed to across the board? I think it was following President Trump's win back in November of 2024. I think the next month we saw the best recruiting numbers for the Army in the past 12 years following that. So is this, the leadership, is it a big morale boost?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have, yeah, I mean, 100% the leadership coming in and what they have done is a huge morale boost across the forces, especially for the people that we have to go ask to fight, right? Like you obviously see a bunch of people that are against, this administration and Secretary Hegseth. But what I will say is I haven't met one single person that might have to give their life that would be the person answering and paying for bad decisions or bad leadership with their lives that don't support Pete Hegseth, right? Like Pete Hegseth is one of us. He is a war fighter's secretary, right? And so to have him up there, to have him stand and like when he speaks for the majority of us. He speaks for the majority of the forces. He doesn't speak necessarily for all the generals and all the officers and all that aspect of it. But I will tell you this, that man represents the majority of the force and how the majority of the force feels. And when you see him put his people over politics, and you see him putting America first, I mean, these men and women are proud to serve that man, this administration, and that is why recruiting numbers are so high. People join the military because they don't want to go and be part of the social norms of all this experiment that society is going on where everybody's a winner. Like when you join the Marine Corps doesn't give you a bonus to join it, right? Like I didn't get a bonus. They didn't offer a bonus. You know what they tell you from day one? You're going to earn this. Like what you have is what you earn. And this is a demographic of people who are attracted to earning, to being something not everybody gets to be. That's not this participation trophy aspect of it. They want the challenge. They want to serve something greater than themselves. And they want to be part of something that matters. And now it matters. It's not this social experiment. You're not coming in and like what it was before this administration. It was this forced social experiment to where we're going to still take outside of the military. You didn't have to accept these societies, concepts of transgender, of all this, insanity that's going on out here. And so coming in the military, then it was like forced down your throat, right? Like now we're going to force you to accept it. You're going to have to respect this transgender, even if whether you like them or not, because there's rank there. I mean, you were allowing this in all these same problems that are tearing our country down to come inside and tear our military down. And so like, I mean, I think that now that all that is cut, now that standards are back, now that the expectations are back, and now that you have a leadership at the top that's going to support you and back you, I mean, I think that this is absolutely something that you can't argue the numbers. They say follow the science. Well, follow the numbers. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's it. And those are the people who I mean, I say this again sitting on my couch in my house, but those are the people who I want fighting for me, people who want to be there. Again, there's real value and appreciation on my end in that. Uh, one of the other topics that we've seen in the news recently is the intense backlash over U.S. boat strikes tied to Venezuela.
Yeah.
Some people calling them war crimes, others saying that this is counterterrorism. From a warfighter's perspective,
Yeah.
how should Americans understand what's happening as it pertains to these narco terrorist bombings that we've seen?
Well, they're doing what's called factual blending. So I call this, I'm gonna coin this phase, right, or this phrase, factual blending. So what they do is they take a piece of it. Yeah, like, yeah, we wiped out a boat, right? And then they ignore all the context that goes with it. So the only fact that they are speaking, the only truth that this message is speaking is that yes, we bombed and we killed these boats, but none of them are arguing if they have drugs on them or not, right? None of them are saying that they're innocent, right? Like you don't hear that anywhere, because they all know factually that we know that there's drugs on them. Like, I mean, imagine, so they're trying to take a piece of the fact and they're trying to paint it and trying to play on people's emotions that we were out there killing innocent people. We're not.
This is what they do on every topic.
This is what they do on every topic, right? They factually blend. They pick one piece of it that is true, and then they spin it out of context into whatever hidden agenda that they have for their own political self-serving, aspect. And that's what you're seeing. So how do I feel about it? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Here's how I think every American should feel about it. How many of us know people who are struggling with drug addiction, or that we know have overdosed over fentanyl? How many of us know it? Every single person that's walking in the United States of America knows, seen, or has heard, or has to worry about this coming into our homes, especially if we have kids. And if you don't think that, I mean, this is a problem. He is going after a problem that you can't buy yourself out of. You can't, power yourself out of. You can't move yourself into your big home and like literally get yourself away from it. I mean, look at what just happened this last week, right? I mean, drugs literally took out a man who had tons of money, who had tons of power, tons of fame, right? Drugs come down and do that. And so like, how can we not sit here and stand for that? I mean, the question comes down to, and this is all that matters, is, are the boats heading north to America? Yes or no? Yes. Do they have drugs on them? Yes. We should kill everybody that's involved in that. Period.
Totally.
And if we
100%.
don't stand for that, what do we stand for? I mean, that's my question. If that's not like justice and blatant, agreeable, nonpartisan, that we should eliminate that, then where do we stop? Where do we stop eliminating? Like, then what do we eliminate?
That's it. Yeah, it's virtually every topic that we've spent the past, especially 5-6 years, discussing in the political realm, as it pertains to whether it's the cultural side of things, border, crime. It is as if the Democratic Party takes the side of the criminal, or the sexual deviant, or the person who is doing what is destructive, dangerous, harmful to this country, to the people who live in this country, and to the freedoms that we have in this country. And again, that's a pretty scary thought, that the commander in chief, our previous president, that's what he supported as well. Praise God, we have strong leadership back in the Oval Office.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Democratic Party operates under the security and safety of the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's That's powerful to think about even. I don't think I've
It's
thought of
so
it
true. It's so
that
true,
way.
right? But but to be fair, the problem comes down to the Republicans not hammering all the Democrats either, right? Like I mean, we have to call it what it is. I mean,
Totally.
there's two, like, I always talk about when we talk American politics, I think American politics, especially the politicians, the majority of them. Now we have a few good ones up there, right? Like you got Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. I mean, what I mean? Like
Totally.
you got some powerhouses up there that are putting up with no bull, right? And so, you got Tim Sheehy, like, I mean, what a great guy. You got Morgan Luttrell. I mean, we've got some power hitters up there. There's not enough of them is the problem. But I always talk about American politics. So American politics is kind of like the WWE of politics of the world, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's exciting, and you know what they do? They all leave and they all clap and they all hang out, and none of it's real what you see in public. And that's the problem. That's the problem.
I get so frustrated even recently online. I keep seeing all these different graphs of Pelosi's, whatever is going on in the insider trading world and her stock portfolio and how it's skyrocketing through the roof. I'm so sick of seeing it because unless we're going to do something about it, what good is that information to me? I personally can't do anything about it. Of course, we can call on our elected representation to do
Mhm.
something, but if they're not willing to, what good is that information to me? Do something about it. If
Yeah.
everyone wants to get on X, all these politicians with an R by their name want to get on X or social media or sit behind a microphone with the lights in their face behind a camera talking about all the problems that we see collectively that they can agree on, but they're not willing to do something about it.
Yeah.
It's there's so much
Well,
theater,
so
performance.
yeah, it is. It's WWE, right? It's all fake. It's all fake fighting, right? I mean, every bit, every piece of it's fake. But here's what I will tell you is, and I'll tell you why we're in a dangerous part. Like the system's not broken, our democracy's not broken, like none of that. But I'll tell you what has happened and where we have got to hammer down on this is like they have over the years slowly, methodically, calculated, they have chipped away at making sure that they are above the consequences of their decisions. So they've built it to where it's the to my true belief is the true deep state is when you have people in power who have literally built and shaped and reformed all of the very laws and power that they have and policies and all these other aspects to shape the people they're in charge of without and limiting the consequences that they are going to feel from those decisions. And that's exactly what you have seen with these people because you can hold them accountable, right? There's nothing illegal about what Nancy Pelosi is doing because if there was, we would get her. But because they have chipped away at this, because they have found a way to weaponize it and turned it around to where they can incentivize themselves and they can protect themselves. And that's what they all do because they're all up there doing this. And so what they all do is they all protect each other, right? They all have shit on each other. They all know it. I mean, all of this. And so what they do is they avoid the conflict that needs to happen and the accountability that truly needs to happen, all for the sake of saying that we must work together. But like, there's no accountability amongst them. They don't even
No.
police themselves because they can't.
No, that's right. Yeah, I can think of I mean, gosh, Fauci, I believe he's a mass murderer. Same thing with Secretary Mayorkas, mass murderer. Nothing will ever happen to them. Think of the
Nothing.
people who have died, the women who have been brutally raped because of illegals who entered into this country, I mean, scot-free, easily under the previous administration.
Yep.
The people who allowed that, they'll never face consequences. There will never
Never.
be accountability, and that's kind of a hard pill to swallow as a everyday common sense American and civilian. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
wild.
for me, like I believe the only document that matters in this country and is the Constitution. Um, look, I like that's the only thing that matters, right? It's the only thing that multiple times I have swore allegiance to. It's the only thing that I'm going to die for. That's ultimately it, right? And it is the law. It's 100% it. And so for me, when I look at this, I believe that when our founders um created this, I believe that they built this in order and left it as wide open as they could for the simple fact of protecting what's important so that we are principally founded, right? But then they did this and they built our democracy and all this aspect of it in a way to where the parties were supposed to reform to the people and evolve to the people, not the people having to reform to the leaders of the parties. And we're backwards right now because that's what you're seeing right now. Like, I don't believe for 1 second that every Democrat out there, or the majority, I'll go even further, that the majority of the Democrats are anti-America. I don't believe it. I know tons of them. I have tons of Democrat friends, right? Like, they're none of that. And so I just think that what's happened, and even on both sides, like even some of the Republicans, like majority of the Republican leadership, I don't think they represent the majority of how Republicans feel either, right? And so I just think that both sides, the parties have left the people, and the people are looking for the parties.
That's hard because I mean I don't think there's an answer to this question, but what do we do to bring them back down to earth, to
Yeah.
ground them, bring them back to reality? I think if there was an answer, we would certainly try to do it. But it seems I don't know if it's with social media or of course
Mhm.
the arm of mainstream media. I don't know if it's lobbyists and money or what's I would imagine that's what drives a lot of their actions, but it's hard to get that message through to them and to get them willing to
Yeah.
represent the people that we I mean, they're public servants at the end of the day. Their job is to serve the public. And if they're not doing that, what do we do about it?
Yeah.
So that's why it's important, I think, that people stay up to date on what's going on. Some of the stuff is so heavy, especially what stays in the news cycle. It's such heavy information that people don't want to watch the news,
Well, you don't
especially
have to.
people our
Yeah.
age. They don't
Yeah. I
want to
mean,
have the Fox News or any news on because a lot of the stuff is heavy and they don't want to see it. Well, guess what? We can't
yeah.
keep turning a blind eye, or
Mhm.
this stuff continues to happen.
Or you could just turn it off, right? Because here's the deal. Like, if we all influence what's around us every day, but it comes down to this though, right? Like, I was just literally thinking about this on the way up here because like I was so excited. I mean, I've watched you forever. And just like I mean, I've watched you forever. And really excited about doing this. And so I was thinking about it and I had 3 R's that came into my mind, and it was risk, responsibility, and reward. And so, you can't, if you don't like the reward you're getting, maybe you need to take more responsibility, and with responsibility, you must accept risk. And so I think that all of that comes down to, so, what I don't believe is I don't believe that we can't do anything. I don't believe that we're hopeless and that, we're because that's what they want. Like, that's why they're like, why do you think the Democrats are controlling the media and the message and the narrative so that you do feel powerless? Like, that is a direct correlation. So we just seen the power of voting, being involved. We just seen what happens when the silent majority stands up, stops being silent, gets off their asses, and stops being like, well, that's just the way it is, and accepting all of this. You turned around and you upset, and you brought a literally, you brought in and stopped. Who knows where our world would have gone if Kamala Harris had
Gosh.
led us, right? But it was because the silent majority stood up. And what I had hoped was, and look at Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, you look at this, the power's there. Like, it's still there. Our ability to change and to shift and to get this thing back on the tracks, it's literally there. But it's going to take people doing it, taking action, speaking truth, not trying to walk on eggshells and trying to walk around and let society dictate. Stop outsourcing your responsibility to other people, your responsibility to speak up, your responsibility to take a stance, your responsibility to correct what's wrong, your responsibility to help people that you can help. Stop outsourcing that and hoping that somebody else does it, and start doing it yourself. Because that's why it's called the United States of America. It's why it's called we the people. It's not we the politicians. It's not we the Republicans or we the Democrats. It's we the people. And the power is still amongst us. And the narrative of that it's not is absolutely a Trojan horse that has been sent in by the Democrats to sit here and to try to relieve the power so that more people have to rely on the government so that the government can control them. And so how do we start? It starts with us. It starts with us. So like I call it the mirror check. You know, the number one thing that's killing us, Riley, is hypocrisy. We
That's it.
expect others to be something that we're not. We expect others to do things that we're not willing to. We expect others to be something that we have no concept of even trying to be or wanting to be. We expect people to do things for us that we would never do for anybody. And that is the pure definition of hypocrisy. So the first place that how we fix this is we look in the mirror and we ask ourselves, are we the American that we would hope everybody else would be? Are we the mother, the father, the human being, the community leader, the whatever titles that you claim and hold so true are like before you start pointing, I mean, it's biblical. It's biblical about the speck in the eye. And so it's like, all this stuff is biblical of, look, you don't have to believe in God or whatever. You don't have to believe it. But what you can do is you want to talk about the best self-help book on the face of the planet is the Bible. You can go look at these things. You can look at these stories. You can believe in heaven, hell. You don't have to believe in any of it. But what you could do is you could go learn a lot about how to be a decent human being from the Bible. And nowhere in the Bible do any of these stories are they about perfect people. They're about broken people. They're about people who got it wrong. They're about people who had to learn through mistakes. We've got a bunch of educated people out there, people who know what right looks like because they've read it in a book or they've learned it in a classroom. But what we don't have is street smart people, people who have knowledge. There's a difference between education and knowledge. And knowledge is only practiced and pressure tested education to see how it is practical to serve people in the real world. And so like, while we sit back and we're like, oh, well, what are we going to do? You know, it's like, I don't know if we can change it. No, we can change it. We don't have a leadership problem. We don't have a people problem. We have a leadership problem that's failing people. So we just need people to be better because leaders are people.
Yeah, that's good. That's powerful. And especially when you're talking about the Bible. I love that you mentioned, look, Christ he uses broken people. You see account after account after account of that in the Bible, right? You've got David, who's an unclean shepherd. You've got Saul, who's a prisoner, a murderer. Those are people he used to effectively communicate and spread his word across nations. So that's good. And you talk about being a dad too.
Yeah.
There was a video you put up on Instagram earlier this week, and it literally brought tears to my eyes. Maybe it's the fact that, my husband and we just welcomed a little girl into this world, but we've got a little clip of it here. I want to play it so the people who are watching and listening to this show can listen to it as well. Let's watch it really quick.
I've had a lot of titles in life: Marine, firefighter, entrepreneur. But the most important title that I will ever have, hands down, is dad. I'm a man. I didn't grow up knowing anything about raising little girls. But the one thing I did know is that there would never be anything that my daughters need from me that is beneath me. If they need me to braid their hair, well, I'm going to learn. If they need me to be patient, I'm going to practice. If they need me to change, I'm going to change. Because my job isn't just to raise them, it's to emulate the kind of man I hope and pray they'll look for one day. A man who's prepared, a man who shows up, a man who's principally sound, a man who doesn't choose comfort over conflict, a man who evolves, a man who doesn't hide behind excuses. Fatherhood, it isn't a title you get once. It's an oath you earn every day.
Man, I love that because, of course, it sounds like the kind of dad that I have, and it sounds like the kind of man that I married, the kind of man I looked for and prayed for a very, very long time. So maybe that's why it brought tears to my eyes. But I was sat there like looking at my screen, like crying, just really beautiful. And so will you talk about that, just what it means to be a girl dad specifically? We've got pictures of you, I think, that will play on B-roll. So I hope everyone's watching this on YouTube, where you're wearing your XXXY girl dad Sure.
Yeah.
And so that partnership too. You're wearing an XXXY shirt right now.
It's my
Um,
favorite shirt.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the
Speak
girl
to
dad the
that.
girl
Speak to
dad is my
that.
favorite shirt.
Oh, my husband's too.
Yeah, it's and I actually had somebody hit me about it this morning of like, "Hey, the first thing on your Instagram of in your bio is girl dad." And yeah, it's the biggest responsibility. We just talked about responsibility, and it's the biggest responsibility, and I didn't know what I mean, look, it's hard. Like, being a parent is hard. Um I think we undermine that, we act like it's a natural thing. I think, it's hard, and especially, if you want to get it right, you understand the responsibility of it, and, especially when you see people of, like, the longest person my daughters will technically ever date is me. The longest male that they will ever date is me, and so, like, every action decision that I make, I they are going to emulate that, right? And if they start dating shitty men at some point, it's because I was a shitty man. And I do understand the responsibilities, and I do believe that every single problem that we have in this country is because of weak men. Women can't be the best that they can be because they're having to do their job and men's jobs. I mean, I think men have left their responsibility. I think men are weaker than they've ever been. I think we have a generation of men that are conditional, which men were not put on earth to be conditional. Men were put on earth to be unconditional, to serve and to protect and to provide. And it doesn't mean necessarily what people think it does. I mean, men, what society has done is society is deciding and dictating and setting the standards for men, which is why we have such weak men. Men should set the standards for society. And that's where we've messed up. Right? Society has set standards. When you go look at societal standards for men as far as being fathers, right? I mean, what is the standard for a male to be involved in a child's life if they get divorced or they are not married? It's every other weekend. And it's to pay a paycheck of child support, right? And so, like, that's not enough. That is the lowest. That's the minimal standard. And so we've got to expect more of men, because what you expect is obviously what we are getting out there. And when you're looking at this, we're leaving all the responsibility on women. We are sitting here, women are having to fight for every aspect of their life. They're having to not only protect, provide. I mean, literally, men have gone, they are just absent when it comes to their roles, and not all of them. And so, there's some roles that are beneath them, and men use this one phrase I mean, I hear men when they talk about, and I used to hear this a lot whenever, we hung around kids who are younger, but, like, I want you to start listening to, like, men bragging about, "Oh, I never changed a diaper." Well, 'cause you're a
Yeah.
piece of
Yeah.
you're a piece of you put all that responsibility on a woman. Why? Is that beneath you? That's your child too. You understand that that is just as much your child as somebody else's. And so it's like this conditional protecting and providing, and what that means. It doesn't just mean, and I ultimately learned this. Look, I am not the professional. I don't have it all right. I don't know. It's always a constant, being a parent and being a leader and being a good human being is a contact sport. And so, but what I have learned is through so many mistakes. And what I do know, and I do believe, and I do understand that I have got to get right and strive to get right is when it comes to my daughters. My daughters have taught me more than I will ever teach them. They truly taught me what it is like, what a man needs to be. And that is, again, back to protecting and providing. And so what does that mean? It doesn't mean just financially. It means protecting it, but you have to be able to provide to protect, and you have to be able to protect in order to provide. They coexist. And so protecting means not only being able to basically physically protect them, but to be able to provide a place of protection, to protect their emotions, their mental aspect of it, to provide a place for them that's safe, to provide a place for them to be able to come to when any of their problems, their needs are out there, right? And these are all very, very important things. It's not just a thing that you do financially. You cannot outsource your responsibility of being a parent to them. And that's what we're seeing right now. We talk about, I hear all these parents complaining about school systems. It's like, well, I don't worry about the school system because like my kids, my teachers, the teachers there are not they're not setting the principles inside my house and my children. I am.
That's it.
Like my kids know we're their number one source of information and who sets the standards and who sets the principles. Like I don't care what book is in my kids' school. You want to know why? Because if like we're not going to be able to hide them from it no matter how hard you try at this point in the world. So like you complaining about how about be a stronger parent? Like my influence on my children will be more than that book in
Mm.
that moment. And I will tell them why this is wrong, why this doesn't make sense. You know, I will walk them and guide them through these moments that don't make sense. And I will give them principles that they can be anchored on and how to apply them through these aspects that they're going to have to get them one way or another throughout life. So guess what? Like they're going to have to grow up a little bit earlier. You're not going to be able to control what they is influencing them, but I am so thankful that I can influence them through truth and that I can be with them the first times that they expose this or exposed to these different societal insanities that are out there. And I can help walk them and guide them and show them the truth so that they can understand going forward as to, yeah, you know what, I can't change that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to not believe it and I'm going to walk past it and I'm going to do it with grace and I am going to do it in a way that I can be a leader. Right. And so I give my kids what's called we call it our Meyer box. It's basically our internal compass that we set. I set this for them because it's easy to. So many parents out there right now, they're very good at telling kids like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," but they can't answer why. It's okay. Well, I understand that you can point out what I can't do and what I shouldn't do, but what should I do? Like, what
Right.
should I be striving to? Like, because these are situations you can't avoid, right? There's so many of them out there. And so, for me, like I give them, we call it the Meyer box. And so my daughters, it's four-sided, just like north, south, east, west, and with one destination. Our destination is to change the world and make the world a better place. And so, our north is to be a leader, right? So one side is to be a leader. The other sides are to be kind, to be strong, and to be respectful. And every decision and action that my children take, which is what we can control our decisions and we can all control our actions. And so all that must fit into the Meyer box because I don't care what anybody else does. That's what we will do, and that's what we remembered as. And so when my daughters are out there, I just try to give them more tools in order to be able to go through these, the path that they're walking. You're not going to be able to walk next to them and control the path at the point, and as you're going to realize right now, you control every aspect of your child. You control when they eat, you control what they eat, you control what they consume. I mean, you literally are controlling your child's every single moment at this time, right? The older they get, the less you're going to be able to control it. The older they get, the less, when you start having even a babysitter, right? Like you're not going to be able to control what's happening at that point. And so at the point that they start realizing and they are conscious of, hey, I can make my decisions and I can do this, you have to give them guidance and a compass to where they can start achieving and start critically thinking on how to navigate these situations on their own because it's kind of like the first time, your kid takes steps. You can sit there all day long and you can put your arms out around them and you can sit here and try to keep them from falling. But guess what? They're going to fall. And so the best thing you can do is you can help them with taking steps on understanding how to do that and preparing them for those steps, preparing them for the fall, and preparing them with the expectations that they're going to have to get back up and keep walking.
And honestly, I think that's the guidance that kids are desperate for. I think have lacked for too long. And when I reflect on my own life, me and my siblings, I attribute so much of who I am to my parents, to the foundation that they laid for me, how they taught me how to be a leader, how they taught me how to set goals and work to achieve those goals. They taught me how to call out injustice when I see it. All of that, you're right, I didn't learn that in school or in a textbook or XYZ. I learned that from my parents and the example that they set, not just with their words, but with their actions, how they interacted with other people. So I love that. I love hearing that. And I think it reinforces the kind of parents and spouses that me and my husband strive to be, aim to be for our daughter. You're right. There is so much more influence you can have in the home than any other place. It all starts here. It happens in your house, not the White House. That's not what controls your kid or teaches them how to be, how to behave, how to think. It doesn't come from the White House, it comes from your own house. And so I think that's honestly something that I needed to hear. So that's
Yeah,
really
man,
good, and
it's
I think
all
your
these
kids are
micro
very
decisions.
lucky.
You know, it's all these micro decisions. Well, it's we have to start living consciously with intentions. You know, most people out there, they can point out what's wrong, but ask them, "Start doing this." When you start hearing somebody bring up a problem, then ask them, like, "Then what would be right, and how do we change it?" And you'll
Critically
watch
think.
them stop. You watch them stop right in their tracks.
Critically think. That's what people like Charlie Kirk did so well. To college students, he would go to these academic institutions, which are supposed to be places where you encourage independent thought. Clearly, they did not take very well to the encouragement of independent thought. And I think it's because they were denied it for a really long time, or they weren't taught it for a very long time. And when they were, they didn't know how to respond. And so, what do? They kill him. So, really, really powerful. Uh, we appreciate you a whole bunch. Again, your service, your leadership. You've got a Substack, which I'm a fan of. You actually just talked about the fatherhood message on your Substack, which is do you pronounce it BLUF like
Yeah,
bluff?
so it's the bluff, right? So in the military, we always in the majority of the time, you know, we speak in statements and it's trying to be as very, you know, direct as you can be for rightful reason, right? I mean, you know, we need the exact information. We need, you know, the clearer it can be, the more mission oriented, we're result based organization. And so you know, we need to understand what those clear results are because the consequences are high when you do what we ask our service members to do. And so what I did is I started with we called it the bluff. And so it's called the bottom line up front. So a lot of times what we'll do is we're coming in with a briefing and we'll go, look, the bottom line up front is X, Y, and Z. This is what I need you to take away from this. And then they go into, you know, what they're needing you to do in a more context, you know, laid out aspect of it, but they give you the takeaways in the beginning. And so I just copied that. And that's what mine's about. You know, I lay out the points I'm trying to make through it because, you know, communication today and words and how people grew up. I mean, communication is more complex today than it's ever been in the history of our country, right? I mean, there's you know, there's what I say, well, there's what I think, what I mean, what I say, what you hear, what you thought it said,
What
and
Chat
then
GPT analyzes it to say.
yeah, and so, you know, it's a complex thing. Communication is complex, and so I just put in the points that I'm trying to make in the beginning of it, and then you can go through and read the rest of it. It's more of a long form. I try to leave every single topic in there. With a solution, right? I'm tired of people just pointing out problems. Everybody sees the problems, everybody knows them. I'm tired of just being, you know, seeing the talking heads who are just, you know, it's emotional porn is what we're seeing out there. It's emotional porn. It's like, hey, how do I get you fired up over something and then leave you with nothing and feeling powerless afterwards, right? No better than when I found you. And so, and that's what all of it is. That's what you see on all these, you know, tons of media news stations, all this. So like I started this Substack so to where I could put those thoughts up there. I could get them out. And I could get my thoughts out there to hopefully like remind people that we can do something. I believe that we need like that's what we've got to do. If we ever get people feeling like they can do something about it and their actions matter, I do believe that this country is going to go. I mean, it's already great, but I mean, I think it's going to go back to getting, you know, what we need this country to be and what the future is going to have to ask it to be, and for us to live another 250 years. And so I do believe in people. I believe in people. I don't believe that I believe majority of people are great. I believe the majority of people are good. And I believe that even more people on this earth want to be good and do good. They just need leaders to show them. They need people to empower them and they need people to deal hope. And so, you know, I do believe that with every moral fiber of my being. And I do believe it's possible to do it.
Well, thank you for giving me hope and inspiration and optimism for the future. Because, like I said, there's so much darkness, and you can if you're chronically online, you can get really consumed by it.
Mhm.
So this is like the spark that I needed lit under me. So
Yeah.
thank you, Dakota. We're so grateful for you, for your service, for your leadership, and just excited to see what you will continue to do. And I encourage everyone watching and listening to go over to Substack if you have one, which if you don't have a Substack, I highly encourage you to get on Substack.
Yeah.
The long form content there, in honestly what we were just talking about, is fantastic for critical thinking, for firing your brain, reading, all really good stuff. You can check out The Bluff, BLUF. We appreciate you, Dakota. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lots of good lessons and info there surrounding, of course, our military, but leadership and fatherhood and masculinity. Gosh, I feel like honestly I would follow Sergeant Dakota Meyer into war. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you're liking, subscribing over on youtube.com/outkick. You never want to miss an episode of the newly rebranded Riley Gaines Show. First episode drops on January 7th. I hope you guys don't miss it. Set your calendars. In the meantime, keep watching the Gaines for Girls podcast, and we'll see you soon.